New information tonight about a shooting rampage at a Colorado movie theater that left 12 people dead and dozens of others hurt.
As police continue their investigation, we are learning more about the suspect and the victims in the massacre.
I'm Marcella Lee, live on assignment in Aurora, Colorado, where we are learning new information tonight about some of the 12 victims who were killed in this movie theater massacre. Plus, much progress was made today in disabling the explosives at the suspect's booby-trapped apartment. I'll have a live report next.
And we're standing by in front of the suspect's parents' home here in Rancho Penasquitos. We have new background information on James Holmes, including what a former classmate is saying about him. Alicia Coates will have that in a live report straight ahead.
Keep it right here. News 8 at 5 is next.
You're watching San Diego's breaking news leader. This is News 8 at 5.
If you think we're angry, we sure as hell are angry about what has happened to our city, what has happened to these wonderful people who live here, and also what he threatened to do to one of our police officers.
Anger, grief, and a search for answers in Aurora, Colorado tonight following a deadly mass shooting at a midnight showing of the new Batman movie. Good evening, I'm Phil Blauer.
And I'm Michelle Medina. We have team coverage of the movie massacre in Colorado.
I'm Marcella Lee, live on assignment in Aurora, Colorado, where a community is grieving.
All right, Marcella, we'll check back in with her in a little while. There are still many questions tonight about the suspect and his motives.
Bomb technicians have defused a complex web of explosives and booby traps at James Holmes' apartment, but the danger isn't over. Neighbors are still evacuated. Dozens of victims in area hospitals are facing long recoveries, and families of moviegoers who lost their lives are beginning to receive the devastating news.
News 8's Marcella Lee has been in Aurora, Colorado all day long at the main center of activity, James Holmes' apartment. Marcella, good evening.
Good evening, Phil and Michelle. I know this community very well. I lived in Denver in the late 1990s and lived just 4 miles from this movie theater. In fact, I came to this theater often to enjoy movies. And what happened here is just so difficult to comprehend for the people who live in Aurora, for the entire Denver metropolitan community, for the state of Colorado, and even for those of you who might not have heard of Aurora, Colorado before yesterday. There have been a lot of new developments today. We are learning more about the explosives that police say 24-year-old James Holmes used in his apartment, where a tripwire, some sort of fishing line, was put by the door to spark an explosion. And we were there today when bomb technicians disabled the last of the threats. First came the warning and then the controlled detonation, followed by some tense moments as bomb technicians watched and waited to see if their meticulous and methodical planning worked. Were they able to disarm one of the improvised explosives found inside the third-floor apartment of 24-year-old shooting suspect James Holmes? With no signs of smoke or fire came relief.
We have been successful in detonating the second triggering device.
News 8 was there during the delicate operation, which began early in the morning. A source tells me bomb techs used what's called a water shot to disable one of the explosives. They used this blue container you see here filled with water that, along with a looped cord, emits a shock wave when detonated remotely, the water disarming the explosive.
It went very, very well. The threat has not been completely eliminated. It has been significantly reduced. We still have bomb technicians and evidence response recovery folks that literally have to go in there and handle unknown substances.
Those watching from nearby buildings taking some comfort in the news.
I feel like it's better that it went away, that they did something, but hopefully that's all of them.
Aurora police will spend the rest of the night pulling boxes of evidence out of Holmes' apartment. Holmes remains in jail, and investigators say he is the lone suspect in the massacre at the Batman premiere at the Century 16 Theaters early Friday morning, which claimed 12 lives and injured 58 others. The Aurora police chief saying there is no doubt Holmes' intent was to take even more lives.
This apartment was designed, I say, based on everything I've seen, to kill whoever entered it. Okay? And who was most likely to enter that location after he planned and executed this horrific crime? Was going to be a police officer, okay? So make no mistake about it, what was going on there. And if you think we're angry, we sure as hell are angry.
FBI agents from Quantico, Virginia, along with ATF agents, flew in late last night to assist in that operation. And sources tell me there were actually 3 different kinds of explosives. First, about 30 round softball-sized aerial shells, which are typically used for fireworks, but these had black powder, possibly explosive powder, gunpowder inside them instead. Second, chemicals that would ignite when mixed together. And lastly, jars filled with liquid, probably some sort of accelerant that would fuel the fire. Now, tonight, 5 buildings remain evacuated as investigators preserve the evidence, and there is some hope that some families will be allowed to return to their homes tomorrow. I spoke with one woman who has been living at Aurora High School. That's one of the places where the Red Cross has sent up a temporary shelter with food and water, a place for them to take showers. She also tells me she has taken advantage of the mental counseling as well.
I was one of the evacuees that wasn't holding it together as well as I thought I would. For me, not being from here, not knowing, not being able to call that friend for a place to stay, it was just unnerving. And the Red Cross has done a great job, as does everyone here. So for someone who hasn't lived here in a long time, it's pretty neat.
She says those mental health services were just invaluable and is hoping to get back into her home tomorrow. Now, as for the hospitalized victims, trauma surgeons, doctors, nurses, and staff, they say that fortunately it appears that all of the victims right now who are hospitalized appear stable.
Today is the day that there's going to be some realization that there is going to be some serious long-term issues that people are going to have to deal with. We have staff in place as far as mental health counselors to work with the patients and their families, and we are going on a case-by-case basis to try to address their needs as best we can.
Today, friends are also reliving what happened the night of the movie premiere. A friend says that he was with his wife and another friend named Josh when the bullets just rang out. People were diving for cover. He says his friend dove over his wife and ended up getting hurt.
It was quiet, and the canister of whatever going across the theater, and then the fizzing of it, and then the shooting. Just the gun going off. Josh helped me protect my wife, and he got shot.
He says his friend has underwent surgery and will hopefully be okay. Tonight, the death toll does stand at 12 with 58 injured. Again, no more deaths since the immediate massacre. And coming up new tonight at 5:30, we are learning more about the 12 victims who were killed, and we will have more on their stories then. Phil and Nichelle.
Marcelo, it's an obvious question. I know that you spent some time back in the Denver area, in fact, even in Aurora there. I mean, what is the mood there? Are people still just in utter disbelief that something like this could happen in their town? Of course, we can't forget about Columbine a few years ago, which is not too far from there, but what are they saying?
Yeah, people are just in disbelief. They just can't believe that you would go to what was supposed to be a fun event, a movie premiere where everyone was excited, a lot of kids were there, and that something like this could happen. Everyone is wondering about motive, but of course investigators say they will not be discussing motive and that those facts will come out in court. James Holmes is scheduled to be arraigned and have his first court appearance on Monday.
All right, Marcel, and we will chat with you in just a short time. Thanks so much. Meantime, one of James Holmes' former classmates describes him as quiet, smart, and shy. Samit Shah had classes with Holmes at Mesa Verde Middle School and at Westview High. He says Holmes was on the JV soccer team, but he didn't know if he had any friends. In an interview with CBS this morning, Shah says he would never have imagined that Holmes could do something like this.
We shared advanced placement classes, and so he always did really well. He worked hard, he got good grades. I was totally shocked the first thing I heard the name first, and I was like, there's no way it could be the same guy. That guy wouldn't do something like this.
Shah says that he and Holmes lost touch in their senior year.
And we are still learning more about the suspected shooter, James Holmes, who graduated from Westview High School in Torrey Highlands in 2006.
Yeah, recent pictures posted on an adult dating website show him with his hair dyed orange, a sharp contrast from what we see in his senior portrait. News 8's Alicia Coates joins us live now from his parents' home in Rancho Penasquitos with a look at his dating profile and what a former classmate had to say about him. Alicia?
Yeah, we'll have that, but look behind me. 24 hours later, police and media are still camped outside of James Holmes' parents' house here in Rancho Penasquitos. Now, his mother is still reportedly inside. She has not come out yet. We're still waiting on that. In the meantime, we are learning new, bizarre background information on the suspect.
The public has a right to know what happened. Why did this happen?
While a motive for the mass killing in Colorado remains a mystery, we're getting a new look at the shooting suspect. These pictures first surfaced on TMZ. A profile on adultfriendfinder.com appears to be that of James Holmes. The profile included a cryptic message on the top which reads, "Will you visit me in prison?" Holmes created the profile on July 5th and last logged in just days before the Dark Knight Rises massacre. Childhood acquaintances are giving some insight into who James Holmes was. They say he was known as Little Jimmy growing up in San Diego. He graduated Westview High in 2006. On Facebook, old colleagues like James Burnham write, Holmes played soccer at Westview. He remembers him as a nice kid, very intelligent and athletic. Others who knew him say he was quiet and reserved. After high school, he was accepted into a rigorous neurobiology internship at the prestigious Salk Institute. A colleague says he didn't have many friends.
He was a very quiet person. He didn't talk to us. I think all of us, we were really excited to be there, and so we were very friendly and talking about college plans, but he never really wanted to associate with us.
In 2010, he graduated from UC Riverside. He enrolled in a PhD program at the University of Colorado, but was in the process of dropping out. The Holmes family is asking for privacy, but many have been passing through the neighborhood looking for answers.
I had to come here with my wife to see that this was actually happening.
Well, the suspect's father is reportedly a mathematician. He is in Colorado at this hour. His mother is a registered nurse, and he reportedly grew up with a younger sister who may be attending San Diego State. Now, coming up at 6:30, we'll keep you posted on any new developments that may happen out here. Back to you in studio, Nichelle and Phil.
And Alicia, it has been more than 24 hours, and really, you mentioned at the top of your live shot, and you showed us many of our colleagues, the media members, still camped outside in what was a very peaceful area. Have you had a chance to talk with neighbors? What's the mood there today?
Yeah, I have. You know, a few neighbors have been going into the suspect's parents' home, and they've been leaving, but they all have been remained very tight-lipped. Now, Mary Lou and Bill have been nice enough to let us park in their driveway, and they tell us that they like the parents, but they didn't know James Holmes that well, so there are still more questions than answers tonight.
All right, Alicia, we'll see you tonight at 6:30 as well. Thanks for that report. Please stay with us as we continue to follow the movie theater massacre in Colorado.
That's right. We'll check back in with Marcella Lee live in Aurora with continuing coverage at 5:30. We'll have more news coming up in just a moment.
News 8, presented in HD, is brought to you by King Stallman Bail Bonds. You're watching San Diego's breaking news leader. Marcella Lee, Phil Blower, meteorologist John Stiles, and sports with John Howard. This is News 8 at 5.
There was history in Hillcrest today at the community's annual Gay Pride Parade. For the first time, dozens of active duty military members were able to take part in full uniform without controversy.
Feeling great, feeling great. This is awesome.
It was history in the marching. This year marked the first time active duty service members could wear their uniforms at the San Diego Lesbian, Gay, Bisexual, and Transgender Annual Pride Parade. The milestone happened because the Pentagon, who rescinded its Don't Ask, Don't Tell policy last year, said participants could wear uniforms as long as military standards of appearance were maintained. All of the branches were dutifully represented at the event, which attracted tens of thousands of spectators. Army soldiers, Navy sailors, Marines, Coast Guard, and Air Force personnel proudly displaying patriotic pride.
It's amazing. Just want to thank everyone for coming out and showing that we all are equal.
I love San Diego. They've been the more supporters than anyone in the world. So thanks, San Diego.
The support is incredible. It's overwhelming almost.
For those on the sidelines, it was a surreal moment.
I'm a veteran also from the Army, and I never thought I'd see it in my lifetime.
It's been a struggle for anyone in any form of life, whether it's military or the civilian sector. But equality is something that we all strive for and we should have.
This year's parade featured more than 180 entries, including business, community, and religious representatives. Several politicians also made appearances, including openly gay Councilman Carl DeMaio, who's running for mayor.
It's time to unite and celebrate San Diego's diversity. Happy Pride!
Outgoing Mayor Jerry Sanders, flanked by his family, had these parting words about the history-making celebration.
It's just a wonderful parade. It's much bigger than I ever remember it, and there's so many happy, excited people out here. It makes it feel really good.
Now, last year, San Diego was the nation's first Pride Parade to include a military contingent. However, only retired service members could wear their uniforms during that celebration.
A distressed plane makes an emergency landing on the 67 freeway. It happened just before 10 this morning near Riverford Road in Santee. A CHP officer noticed the small plane was having engine problems and quickly stopped freeway traffic to make room for a safe landing. The 79-year-old pilot says he finished building the plane in 2009 and has flown it many times without any problems. No one was hurt. An earthquake rattled the East County this morning and had an epicenter in an unusual location. The 2.1 quake hit just before 9:30, about 8 miles southeast of Alpine and about 26 miles east of downtown. An Alpine resident says it felt like a mild jolt. The quake was apparently not on the same fault systems in the East County, the Imperial Valley, and the Mexicali region of Mexico that frequently get rocked in that area.
San Diego Zoo visitors were treated to an unexpected close-up encounter today.
A gazelle apparently escaped from its enclosure this morning. This picture was taken on Big Cats Road in the zoo by News 8 viewer Ray. No word how the gazelle got loose or how long it took zoo employees to get it back where it belonged. There are no reports, though, of any injuries.
Now, your microclimate forecast, presented by Lexus Escondido. Here's meteorologist Sean Stiles.
Just want to say it's nice of Michelle Medina to stop on by. Here's how we do it at night.
Exactly right. Usually I'm asleep around now.
Sometimes it is night when I'm on your show, but I'm just getting you back.
Well, thank you. It's nice to be here, and the weather just gorgeous.
Yeah.
You know, you really can't complain about this, even in the inland valleys, although it's a little bit warmer out there, and we do have that humidity kind of sneaking in across.
Listen, I just came back from Florida, nothing like that.
Really? Okay, there we go. Now you just made us all feel a whole lot better. It looks like this humidity will stick around, and in fact, we have a chance of some thunderstorms heading our way. We'll talk to you about that. Let's take you outside and look from our downtown Skycam. We're looking towards the south and west. That is the Bay Bridge there and the Silver Strand off in the distance, 72 degrees. Northwest of the winds at 8, humidity at 68%. So it does feel a little sticky out there, but as Michelle just said, putting it in perspective, nothing compared to the folks in Florida, and 29.91 and steady. Here's the current temperatures around San Diego, and it has cooled off nicely already, looking in the low 80s across much of the inland valleys. We're in the mid 70s on the mesas, and you head out to the coastline, the low to mid 70s along the beaches of San Diego. Still toasty though out in Borrego at 108, and the mountains sitting very nice in the mid to upper 80s. So everyone looking at some classic San Diego weather, especially when you look at stuff like 105 in Las Vegas and Phoenix, 106 in Palm Springs. So you know why all those people are migrating to the coastline. 71 in Los Angeles, along with the folks up around San Francisco. So a pretty nice day out west, and the reason for that is high pressure has given us mostly clear skies. We're seeing the high pressure that is set up over parts of the Midwest, bringing that circulation around the high pressure. And you can see that if you look carefully, you'll notice how everything is trending in this direction. And it's picking up the moisture from Mexico and bringing it up across parts of Arizona. And that moisture is expanding towards the west, but we're not seeing it in the form of thunderstorms. What's going to happen, though, over the next, say, day and a half to 2 days, is high pressure over the plain states will start to expand. And because of that, high pressure will expand out and bring this flow more over Southern California. So we'll start to see a chance of some thunderstorms making their way into Southern California. And I do want to point out this little pesky area of low pressure that continues to spin up around Vancouver in Canada. Those folks up there just cannot get out of that system that has been plaguing them over the past 6 weeks up around there. 68 degrees in the water, so we're looking at some really nice conditions in the ocean. Beautiful weather, warm water, and some swell starting to make its way into San Diego. We've had several storms in the southern hemisphere coming off the roaring 40s off the Antarctic, and those storms have come off and turned the corner around New Zealand and the Easter Islands and sent some pulses of energy towards San Diego. You Combine that with the incoming tide at 12:30, a 5.0, and you should have some pretty good waves in the early morning hours of San Diego. Here's a look at that marine there, and it's kind of hanging right along the beaches, and it will start to trickle in over the next, say, 6 to 12 hours towards the inland valleys, but nothing really heavy, so we will see temperatures burn off rather quickly and warm right back up as you look at your daytime highs tomorrow in the mid-80s by the 1 o'clock hour. And so we'll push it into the 88, 89, low 90s in places like Campo and in Ramona. But for the most part, it couldn't be better when you consider it is the month of July.
Yeah,
we'll take it.
Yeah. There you go.
We've lived here a long time.
We sure have.
All right, Sean, thank you. Coming up next on News 8, the uprising in Syria moves into the country's largest city.
Plus, the Olympic torch begins its tour of the host city of London.
Also, China holds its first ever base jumping challenge on the world's highest bridge. We have some breaking news right now to bring you live out of Aurora, Colorado, where bomb technicians are detonating and destroying the contents taken out of the suspect, James Holmes' apartment earlier.
That's right. Marcella was telling about some of the containers and some of the accelerants that they're using. And you can see they're doing this at quite some distance, really in the middle of nowhere and flatlands out there, as we try to take a look at that live helicopter shot. But that is exactly what they're doing at this hour to make sure that these things are rendered inert, that they don't cause anybody any problems. And again, these are the, as Nichelle mentioned, these are the bomb techs from, presumably from the Denver area also moving into that situation. And now it looks like they're shooting some sort of, you can see some sort of smoke there in the distance, Nichelle.
And again, excuse these live pictures. We're not in control of them, but we just wanted to bring this breaking news to you. Of course, we'll stay on top of the story. If anything else develops, we will go straight back to it. Syrian troops are striking back against rebel fighters who launched a bomb attack on the president's inner circle. Heavy armored vehicles are moving into one of Syria's biggest cities, forcing hundreds of families to leave. This as violence escalates in Damascus, where government forces used tanks, helicopters, and rockets against rebels overnight. UN Secretary General says top advisors are on their way to assess the situation.
NATO officials say they are winning the war against Somali piracy, but the international community must continue to work together to completely eliminate the problem.
We are making progress, but the piracy problem is still there, and therefore we must continue to work hard to make sure even the last pirate disappears from the sea.
According to the International Maritime Bureau, the number of attacks from January to July dropped 32% from the same time last year. An Italian court postponed the preliminary hearing in connection to the Costa Concordia shipwreck. The hearing, which will determine whether or not to indict the Concordia's captain and others, will resume in mid-October. You may recall back in January, the giant cruise liner capsized off a Tuscan island, killing 32 people. Ship captain Francesco Scatino is accused of causing the accident because he was distracted by a phone call after a night of alleged drinking.
Well, the athletes and the Olympic torch have arrived in London. The torch has begun its tour of the host city of this year's games. Today's relay lineup includes London's youngest and oldest torchbearers, 12-year-old Chester Chambers and a 101-year-old. Like most other torchbearers, they were nominated by their communities. The games, by the way, open on July 27th.
Well, daredevils gathered for China's first ever base jumping challenge on the world's highest bridge.
This is crazy if you ask me. The international challenge drew a field of 30 world-class parachute jumpers from 15 countries, including 3 women. After jumping off the 1,200-foot tall bridge, the parachuters free fell at 50 miles per hour before opening the parachute at about 330 feet above ground. No, thank you.
Yeah,
Phil?
I completely concur. No way I would ever try something like
Yikes.
that. Okay. Our coverage of the movie theater massacre in Colorado continues in a moment.
Coming up, how the tragedy is affecting the film industry, including the canceling of world premieres of the new Batman movie.
I'm Marcella Lee, live in Aurora, Colorado, where we are learning more about the 12 victims who were killed in the massacre.
News 8, presented in HD, is brought to you by More Furniture for Less. You're watching San Diego's breaking news leader. Marcella Lee, Phil Blauer, meteorologist John Stiles, and sports with John Howard. This is News 8 at 5.
Welcome back. We are following the latest developments out of Aurora, Colorado tonight in the wake of the deadly mass shooting at a movie theater.
Today, authorities began disarming a complex web of tripwires and explosive devices set up inside the apartment of the suspect. Bomb technicians detonated one small explosive and disarmed another inside James Holmes' apartment. Several others remain, but they have been able to take care of the most dangerous of those devices. News 8's Marcella Lee has been following the story all day long in Aurora.
She joins us now with what we're learning about the innocent victims of this tragedy. Marcella.
Nichelle and Phil, they are heart-wrenching stories that make you want to go home and hug your kids, your parents, your spouse a little bit harder, you know. And the community is really gathering together, trying to offer each other support. But tonight we are learning more about the 12 victims who lost their lives in the theater behind me from those who knew them best. As a real-life horror inside a movie theater unfolded in front of us, the death toll kept rising. 12 people have died. But now those numbers have names and stories, like Jessica Gowie, Alex Sullivan, Michaela Medic, Matt McQuinn, their families left behind with so much pain.
This is just like a nightmare right now. It's a nightmare.
Annie Dalton is the great aunt of 6-year-old Veronica Mosier, the youngest known victim to die in the mass shooting.
Vibrant little girl, 6-year-old, you know, just was bragging about learning how to swim on Tuesday.
Her family says the girl's mother is in the ICU with a bullet lodged in her neck.
Her whole life has changed in a flash for what? You know? I mean, she still doesn't know her daughter's gone. Because, you know, now our priority is to make sure that she survives this.
The Navy also confirms Petty Officer 3rd Class John Larimer died. The 27-year-old from Illinois joined the Navy last summer and was stationed at Buckley Air Force Base. And this young man says his friend A.J. Boyk is among the dead too. They went to school together.
Just had so much in him. He was just like so great to everybody. He was friends with everybody. Everybody just knew AJ.
And just hours ago, Tom Sullivan carried this picture of his son with him as he frantically searched for his son Alex. His family now says that the young husband, brother, and son died in the shooting. It was confirmed for them on the day they would have celebrated his 27th birthday. And you know, it really does just break your heart. There is a lot of emotion out here, a lot of tears, sadness, grief, and there's also a lot of anger. The Aurora police chief said today that after reviewing the evidence that was in 24-year-old James Holmes' apartment, it was clear that his intent was to kill as many people as possible.
Make no mistake, okay, this apartment was designed, I say, based on everything I've seen, to kill whoever entered it. Okay? And who was most likely to enter that location after he planned and executed this horrific crime? It was going to be a police officer. Okay? So make no mistake about it, what was going on there. And if you think we're angry, we sure as hell are angry about what has happened to our city, what has happened to these wonderful people who live here, and also what he threatened to do to one of our police officers.
Holmes will be in court on Monday. He will be arraigned, of course, in connection with the murders of the 12 individuals, along with the 58 people who were wounded, but also perhaps, you could tell from the Aurora police chief's statement, perhaps attempted murder on peace officers as well, so we'll just have to see how that plays out. Now, a lot of progress was made today when it comes to disabling the explosives that were in Holmes' apartment. It took officers and agents more than 30 hours to even try and do the first detonation because they had to work so meticulously and methodically to make sure that no one was put in harm's way. And though the main threats are over, according to the FBI, those bomb technicians are still at risk.
The threat has not been completely eliminated. It has been significantly reduced. We still have bomb technicians and evidence response recovery folks that literally have to go in there and handle unknown substances with potentially explosives or incendiary outcomes. An extensive amount of evidence is in the process of being collected, and we will bring this portion of the investigation to a close and allow the families back in their homes here probably by tomorrow.
Again, you heard him say they're hoping to get families back in their homes as soon as possible. I was also in the neighborhood today, and a lot of the surrounding buildings, they actually have no power, and it hit 100 degrees out here in Denver today, so those families are anxious also to get their power back on, but of course they wanted to cut power to that neighborhood just in case, while working with any of these incendiary devices, a fire started. So a lot of people just anxious to get back in their homes, to get life back to normal, and one of the elected officials today said, don't let this pause and cause you to stop living. Go out and see a movie, go out and enjoy life, and let's come together as a community. Phil and Nichelle.
You know, Nichelle and I were talking, we were hearing you as you were introducing your segment here from Colorado, Marcella, and it seemed to me you were getting a bit emotional, and I can understand that. Just being there probably is you know, you've been there before, you know, vacationing, you have friends there, you obviously work there. I can see that coming to the surface.
I mean, who hasn't stood in line for something that you really want to attend? You know, a concert, a movie, a midnight show. I mean, I think we've all done it at some point, and that's, you know, the exciting thing about doing something like that. And yeah, it is tough. I've been to this movie theater. I've shopped at this mall, you know, so I think that especially for the people who live here, and I haven't lived here for about 15 years, so I'm so far removed, I can't even imagine the pain that the people in this community are feeling right now.
Exactly, but no doubt our hearts and prayers go out to everyone there in that community, and especially the family members of the victims too. Marcella Lee live from Aurora, Colorado tonight. Marcella, thank you. We know shooting suspect James Holmes grew up in Rancho Penasquitos, but now we're learning more disturbing details about his time here in San Diego. A local pawn shop owner says James Holmes frequented his business several times over the past year. He bought the weapons used in the shooting spree in Colorado, but David Casper of Hillcrest Pawnbrokers says the suspected killer looked at his shop's supply of firearms on more than one occasion.
I and a couple of the employees recognized him immediately. It's not every day that you find out a multiple mass murder has been in your business.
Casper says Holmes never bought anything at his store. California does require a 10-day waiting period to purchase firearms. Casper says that Holmes easily could have passed a background check to buy guns because of his clean record.
San Diego's top cop says officers here are more prepared to handle an active shooter scenario like the one in Aurora. Chief William Lansdowne tells us that the department's active shooter tactical plan was fine-tuned from the lessons learned from the McDonald's massacre in San Ysidro back in 1984 and the Columbine High School massacre in Littleton, Colorado in 1999.
The effort and the thought process is be able to quickly respond immediately with the equipment and the tactics capable of going right to the active shooter.
In light of the tragedy in Aurora, Chief Lansdowne says you should always be aware of your surroundings. Also make sure that you know where the exits are at all times, wherever you may be.
Warner Brothers Pictures has canceled several world premieres of The Dark Knight Rises. Premieres as well as appearances by the cast and filmmakers of the newest Batman movies have been canceled in Paris, Mexico, and Japan. The studio says actors Christian Bale, Anne Hathaway, and Joseph Gordon-Levitt will no longer hold press or red carpet events on Monday at Mexico City's National Auditorium. Warner Brothers says it will continue with screenings for special guests and promotion winners so as not to disappoint fans. The tragedy in Colorado has brought Hollywood studios together in a rare show of solidarity as they opted to give the weekend box office a rest. Sony, Fox, Disney, Universal, Paramount, and Lionsgate are joining Warner Brothers in withholding their box office numbers for the weekend. Warner Brothers announced that it would forego the usual revenue reports until Monday out of respect for the victims and their families. Warner Brothers Studio released this statement. Warner Brothers and the filmmakers are deeply saddened to learn about this shocking incident. We extend our sincere sympathies to the families and loved ones of the victims at this tragic time.
Well, coming up, a Kentucky family carries out their loved one's final wish.
The big surprise that made the day of one pizza server.
And a pretty nice start to the weekend here in San Diego. I'm meteorologist Sean Stiles. We'll take a look at the second half and also tell you about some thunderstorms coming back into our 8-day outlook. That's all coming your way here on News 8.
A man in Kentucky is using his brother's death to change the lives of others. Seth Collins' brother Aaron left a will asking for someone to leave a, quote, awesome tip of $500 for a pizza server.
He asked us to go to dinner and leave the waiter or waitress $500. Are you kidding? No, I'm not kidding. It's yours.
The waitress who got the tip worked 3 jobs while going to school, and she was pulling a double the day they surprised her with that cash. Collins says the family was able to do this after their first tip video went viral and donations started to pour in nearly $50,000. He says this will allow them to surprise a server every week for 2 years.
Now, your microclimate forecast, presented by Lexus Escondido. Here's meteorologist Sean Stiles.
Michelle, were you giving you any tips to fill in for Marcella?
Yeah, would you like to give me a tip? That'd be nice.
Hey.
I think you're giving me the great weather as a tip. I'll take it.
You know, I've waited tables in a couple pizza joints. Palermo's Pizza, and BJ's Pizzeria in La Jolla Village Square. So, $500.
Imagine that. Ooh.
No. I can't.
You would have got $5 if you were lucky.
Yeah, you know, that was, you know, $5 for on a pizza. That was a pretty good tip. Here in San Diego, as Michelle just said, your tip today, beautiful weather. We'll put the time lapse into motion. We'll show you the marine layer starting to reform along the coastline. We got mostly sunny skies down there today, but then that marine layer did return back in and started to cool things down. From that, we go to downtown San Diego, where it is still mostly sunny downtown. The marine layer has precluded the sunshine at the beaches, but still sunshine across San Diego's downtown area. 72 degrees, northwesterly winds, humidity at 68%, and a barometer sitting at 29.91 and steady. Let's take a look at the highs around the county today, and it was in the 90s in places like Ramona and Campo at 93, 110 out in Borrego. So it's pretty toasty. Look at 92 for the folks up in Julian. You probably didn't even need to get your apple pie warmed up. Just coming off the shelf was warm enough. As you look at the mesas, we are in the mid 80s to upper 70s, and along the beaches, mid 70s. Oceanside, an anomaly always because that temperature comes from the harbor there, so the water temperature affects that. And then along the southern part of San Diego, we were in the mid 70s, 76 both in Coronado and in the Chula Vista area. It's very warm across Colorado. As Marcella told us, it was 100 degrees in Denver. It's still 95 degrees. Get out to the northeast, and they're looking at temperatures in the 70s, and across the desert southwest, Las Vegas at 105 and Phoenix at 105, 71 in San Francisco. Let's look at the satellite loop here, and you can see that there are some thunderstorms popping up across parts of the mid-Atlantic and across the Gulf states, but for the most part, things pretty benign out there. We do have high pressure situated over the plain states, and the circulation around this high pressure is what's bringing that moisture up from Mexico, and that's what's giving us our humid conditions, but we will not see really any chance of a thunderstorm until Monday. So tomorrow looks okay. Then a chance of a thunderstorm making its way across the mountains into the inland valleys and all the way out to the coastline. At this point, no rain from this in the coastal strip and the inland valleys, but for the mountains and deserts, you could see some. Temperatures stay in the mid 70s, just about where we should be for this time of year. Late night, early morning clouds giving way to mostly sunny skies. And then for the folks in the inland valleys, it's going to feel a little bit warmer than the upper 80s because of the humidity in the atmosphere, especially on Monday. As I said, that subtropical moisture will be pushed out by the expanding high pressure, so we could see some showers over the mountains and deserts, but just the clouds spilling out into the inland valleys and the coastal strip.
All right, you've been warned.
Yes.
Sean, thank you so much.
You
Appreciate it. Thousands of runners took part in the second annual Bolt to the Q this morning. Chargers running back Ryan Matthews talks about the great event next.
Plus, a new leader emerges after 3 rounds of the British Open. John Howards is here with the highlights coming up in sports.
And now, News 8 Sports. Here's John Howard.
Talking some golf right now.
Yeah, we're talking golf. The British Open is one of the 4 major tournaments of the golf season every year, so I like watching it, but you got to get up early in the morning to watch it, which I don't like. I'm not a morning guy.
Hey, I wake up at 2:30 in the morning.
That's right.
I don't want to hear any complaints, buddy.
And I don't know how you do that. All right, moving day at the British Open. Second round leader, Brandt Snedeker, he moved down the leaderboard. Adam Scott, he moved up. Snedeker found himself in one of those bunkers that has the player hitting away from the pin. He suffered 4 bogeys and a 5-hole stretch to drop out of the lead. Tiger Woods started the day 3 shots off the lead. He is now 5 strokes back. A 50-footer for birdie here. Woods shot an even par 70. He remains at 6 under. Then at 17, Graham McDowell drains a birdie putt to go to 7 under, moving into a tie for second place. And the leader is Adam Scott. He drains about a 30-footer here for birdie at number 8. And Scott finishes the day at 11 under par. He holds a 4-stroke lead over Snedeker and Graham McDowell. Tigers in third. Zach Johnson and Ernie Els are tied for 5th.
I'm really excited for what tomorrow holds. No matter what the result, it's going to be an incredible experience for me. And, you know, I truly believe I can go out and play a great round of golf no matter what the conditions. And like I said, if I do that, I think that makes it pretty hard for them to catch me.
Whether the wind blows or not, I still got to go out there and post the round that I know I need to post and execute my plan.
Well, the Chargers held their second annual Bolt to the Queue today, a 5K run and fun run for the kids. From the Chargers training facility on Murphy Canyon down into Qualcomm Stadium, the course finished on the field at the Queue, giving fans the rare experience of being down there on the field. The event benefits the foundation of running back Ryan Matthews.
It's just good to see all the good turnout and how many people care, and just representing Kaiser and health and fitness and helping my charity out too. So it's a good cause, and everyone's here and it's fun. You hear everybody in the background, and they're just excited, and I'm excited, and like I said, I can't wait to see them run.
And after the runners finished the race, some went up into the stands for the Chargers Select a Seat season ticket promotion. Seats that are available for season ticket purchase were marked with a yellow flyer. The first 100 buyers today also got a free trolley pass for all home games and a Chargers replica micro helmet. And the LA Dodgers are starting to heat up. Matt Kemp hits a fly ball down the right field line. Former Padre Scott Harrison can't make the play there. That's an RBI triple for Kemp. Later, R.A. Dickey was pitching in relief in the 9th, and Juan Uribe hits a 2-run bomb. The Mets blow a 5-1 lead, and the Dodgers win their 3rd straight game, 8-5. And back here in San Diego, the Padres getting set to take on the Colorado Rockies in Game 2 of their series.
Fingers crossed.
Let's hope so.
Go Padres.
Want to win. All right, John, thank you. And we'll be right back.
Got to get outside and enjoy the rest of the day.
Okay.
Beautiful.
It's going to be gorgeous out there for folks heading to the downtown area or in the East County. If you're out and about, temperatures are going to start to drop off. It's going to feel a little sultry out there, but after all, it is summer. It is July, and so you expect that. Notice on our 8-day outlook here, we do have a thundercloud on Monday. Some moisture spilling up from Mexico will bring those clouds into both the inland valleys and along the coastline, and a chance of some showers in the mountains and deserts.
Sultry. We'll
Sultry.
take that. I like it.
Yeah, not too shabby. All right, Sean, thank you very much. Well, News 8's Marcella Lee has been in Aurora, Colorado all day long following the latest developments for us on the movie theater massacre there.
And right now, let's check in with her one last time for an update. Marcella.
Nichelle and Phil, the movie theater behind me, there is still an active crime scene out here at Century 16. And this is where the shooting took place, of course, early yesterday morning. The police department's forensic team is inside. They are busy collecting evidence. And with 58 people wounded and 12 people dead, you can imagine that it is going to take a long time to process the scene. The chief says he expects his team to be in here through Monday. And then hopefully they will be able to turn over the crime scene to James Holmes' defense attorney on Tuesday. And they hope that the venue will finally be able to be given back to the theater. And of course, they will have a lot of cleanup to do themselves. Not sure when the theater will reopen, but that is the timeline from out here. Now, coming up new for you tonight on News 8 at 6:30, we have new details about evidence that police are telling us about tonight. Evidence that reveals that this may have been an attack that was premeditated, calculated, and planned for several months. I'll have more on those details coming up new for you tonight at 6:30. For now, I'm Marcella Lee, live on assignment here in Aurora, Colorado. Phil and Nichelle, back to you. See you in about a half an hour.
All right, Marcel, thank you very much. That's going to do it for us right now at 5 o'clock. Michelle, thanks for being here. Of course, we'll be back at 6:30 with a lot more.
CBS Evening News is next.